Kupata Yes My Love kama sikiza tune yako, dial *811 *816#.
Mutiso, wewe nafanya nini hiyo? Wacha nieleza, panataka hiyo kitu. Panataka Mutiso.
Ai mbo sasa hiyo tu unakuja unaanza kunizuzia kwa nini hata sijafanya kitu?
Wewe nieleza Mutiso, apana leta hiyo kitu taka. Wacha nachukua simu. Hello? Yes my lovely. Yes, I did the dishes.
Kupata Yes My Love, bonyeza *811 *816#. *811 *816#.
Rodor! If you put a stop to this marriage, are you gonna step up and be responsible for her happiness?
You can't do anything bad with this magic. It's all about karma. You reap what you sow. Come with me now. This is Kali, a fox. He is the prince of the avians, Rodor. Rodor! Rodor!
As campaign intensified for the upcoming general election, what does all this mean for you, the voter? What do the candidates have to offer? How prepared are agencies charged with the election process? Join John Kuria and Safina Chieng on Kenya Decides. This and every Tuesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 as we unpack elections 2022 with a panel of various stakeholders. Make informed electoral decisions.
Na kama hiyo ni njama ambayo mmepanga nyinyi wawili, wewe kama umwonea imani sana, basi mtafutie sehemu nyingine ya kuishi.
Huyo msichana wako atakunyonyora wewe pakubaki supu. Chezea msichana college wewe.
Siwezi kuwa na dada mwenye roho mbaya kama yako. Una nia nzuri wewe.
Unajua mimi nimechoka kabisa kukuhurumia.
It's none of your business. Achana na mimi.
Tunataka nini kwangu?
Nimekuja kumwona mwanangu.
Toa hivyo vitu.
Good afternoon. Thank you for creating time for us. This is KBC. You're just in time for the Lunchtime news. My name is Irene. Muchuma Odem. On sign language interpretation, we have Lanza Odingo. Do interact with us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. President Uhuru Kenyatta will not actively participate in Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition flag bearer Raila Odinga's campaigns. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition National Executive Council Vice Chair David Murathe says the president is keen on cementing his legacy and has instead taken a back seat to allow Raila's running mate Martha Karua to solidify the Mount Kenya voting bloc for Azimio.
It has remained a matter of speculation on whether President Uhuru Kenyatta will finally hit the campaign trail to support his preferred successor, Raila Odinga. The revelation by Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party National Executive Council Vice Chair David Murathe is the biggest confirmation yet the president will be taking a back seat.
It is not that he's going to openly go campaign. He's not in the race. The campaign is for the candidates. The candidate is Raila Amolo Odinga and Martha Karua. We, the handlers and the supporters of the president, will be there. We'll be on the ground. When they roll out the program for Mount Kenya, for Martha and Raila, sisi ndio mtaona, sio Rais Uhuru Kenyatta.
Murathe, who is also Jubilee Party's vice chair, says the unveiling of Martha Karua as Odinga's running mate has changed the fortunes of Azimio in Mount Kenya region, gains they plan to build on in the coming days.
People are taking the mountain for granted. The mountain, you watch them the last week of the election. Na sio ati wanafanyaga mikutano, but they tend to move in the same direction at the last minute. There is a consciousness of Mount Kenya, which drives the narrative and which informs the decision.
On Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka's expected return to Azimio, Murathe, while welcoming the move, has advised the former vice president to negotiate and take up the position of National Assembly Speaker, as it would give him more political clout than the Chief Minister slot.
The Speaker of the National Assembly is the third most powerful person in the land. In the absence of the president and the deputy president, he becomes the president. If I was his advisor, I'd have asked him to go for Speaker of the National Assembly. After all, he has been the Deputy Speaker in those days of Moi.
John Jacob Curia, The Lunchtime News.
KANU National Chairman Gideon Moi was among those cleared to defend his Baringo Senate seat. The move now ends speculation that the Baringo senator would not be defending his seat due to the perceived United Democratic Alliance UDA wave in Rift Valley. Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni has also been cleared by the IEBC to defend his Ndaragwa constituency seat.
Several political aspirants were cleared to vie for elective seats come the August polls. KANU Party National Chairman Gideon Moi was among those cleared by IEBC to vie for Baringo County's Senate in the August general elections. Senator Moi urged the electorates to fully back him for the senatorial seat, which he is defending for the third time. Isiolo County, incumbent Isiolo North MP Hassan Ouda Hulufo, who is defending the seat as an independent candidate, was one of the candidates cleared after failing to get clearance on day one, a system which has delayed the process, especially verification of the 1,000 signatures. Others who are cleared to face off with the incumbent MP include former MP Joseph Semal, who is seeking to recapture the seat on the Jubilee Party ticket, and nominated Senator Abshiro Halake Soka of KANU.
Mejipanga, and we were able to submit all the required documents, including signatures of 1,000 voters who are registered voters in my constituency. I am glad that I am validly elected as indicated by the returning officer. I want to thank all my supporters, especially those who took their time to collect the 1,000 signatures.
Nataka kukuwe na amani, kukuwe na uhusiano bora kati ya wale wote ambao wanasimama viti mbalimbali, kutoka MCA, kutoka MP, kutoka Women Rep, kutoka Senators na Governors. Na wote ninawaomba na wahimiza wafanye kampeni zao za amani na wawajibike kwa wananchi wa Isiolo.
Elsewhere, Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni has been cleared by the IEBC to defend his Ndaragwa parliamentary seat. Kioni lauded the professionalism by the IEBC officials conducting the process.
An appeal to my colleagues in the political field, those who are also vying for different positions in the country, to ensure that even this exercise of submitting papers is done in a peaceful manner within the law, and we should not heighten the political temperatures unnecessarily.
Meanwhile, the Service Party leader Mwangi Kiunjuri has been cleared by IEBC to contest for the Laikipia East parliamentary seat. Kiunjuri exuded confidence that he will clinch the seat, citing his development record when he served as the area legislator for 3 terms.
And this election will be about issues. It is issue-based because Kenyans are now able to differentiate between parties and leaders, that they are able to choose among the many parties that will be there, those people that they think will be able to understand their issues. It is about who can bring development, who can be able to move the constituency from one level to another.
And Busia Governor Sospita Ojamong has been cleared to vie for Teso South parliamentary seat on an ODM ticket. Ojamong said he was keen on improving the economic status of Teso South.
Sasa ndio tunaingia sasa. Unajua tuna agenda mingi ambayo inakumba watu yetu. Na ninaendea kwa hii kiti ya MP. Sababu sasa hivi tunataka economic liberation ya watu yetu. Ile political liberation tulifanya, tukaleta political parties. Sasa hii ni economic liberation. Tunataka tuweke vichwa yetu pamoja. Viwanda ziweze kujengwa, vijana waweze kupata kazi, uchumi yetu iweze kuendelea mbele.
Stella Memusi, the spouse of Kajiado Central Member of Parliament Elijah Kanchori Memusi, has died. Stella succumbed to injuries sustained in an accident along the Nairobi-Namanga Road on Tuesday morning.
The police report indicated that the vehicle carrying Stella Memusi was headed towards Kajiado from Isinya. Police say the vehicle hit a trailer that had stalled in the middle of the road and had no road safety signage. Stella died on the spot while her driver sustained minor injuries. The driver was rushed to Kajiado Hospital for treatment while the body of the deceased was taken to Kajiado Hospital mortuary. Beatrice Gatonyangetich, Lunchtime News.
And we now cross over to the county of Murang'a in Sagana, where there is an exercise in regards to the Sagana dual carriageway. My colleague Ruth Omboi is with the team. She is advising we cross over and listen in. This as the president of the African Development Bank is currently addressing members who have attended the event. Let's listen in.
All the way to Horohoro and the Lunga Lunga all the way to Malindi was actually financed also by the African Development Bank. In total, the African Development Bank over the last 7 years, we provided $40 billion of financing for infrastructure in Africa because we believe in regional integration, right? Integration only matters when I can go from one place to the other. We connect that, we connect also digital infrastructure, we connect water and sanitation. And Cabinet Secretary, I am very pleased that here in Kenya, we have invested in Kenya $1.1 billion in water and sewage in Kenya. Most of what you see is actually financed by the Africa Development Bank. Water storage system, water supply systems, sewage systems are financed by the African Development Bank. And when you look at energy, for example, I know the Cabinet Secretary for Energy is not here, but energy is also infrastructure, right? You know, infrastructure is like the backbone of your body. If you have backbone, you start up straight. If you don't, you can't. And that is what infrastructure does for the economy. That's why I'm very proud of what Kenya is doing with infrastructure. And energy, for example, you know, we financed the Lake Turkana project, which is 310 megawatts, which is the largest wind power station in Africa. We financed it also with about 428 kilometers of transition lines all the way. We also financed the Menengai geothermal development project. Now the Menengai, it's about 104 megawatts. And, you know, and now you power your country with renewable energy. I'm very proud of Kenya's leadership when it comes to renewable energy. And one of the projects that I actually love the most is what we call the last mile connectivity project, which connects poor households to electricity. You know, I came here to see one of the projects, and I was amazed. There was a lady in front of me. Her name was Grace. And the Cabinet Secretary was behind me, and the Cabinet Secretary was talking to her. Do you know Dr. Adeshino in front of you? She said. Do you know the African Development Bank? She says, I do not know Dr. President Adeshino of the bank. I do not know the African Development Bank. All I know was that we once were in darkness, now we have light. Now, that is what impact really is. And I'm very proud that that last mile connectivity project has allowed about 2.4 million people to get access to electricity. So all in all, what I'm saying is that the way in which Kenya government has managed this project is exemplary. This project is supposed to conclude in December of 2024. This project, as you see it now, it will be delivered by December of 2022. That's 2 years ahead of time. I thought you would clap for Kenya. Yes. Even though you are journalists, you should clap for yourselves too. I am very, very proud of that. And, you know, as I say, you know, I lived here for about 10 years, so I'm literally almost a Kenyan. So, Cabinet Secretary, congratulations to you. Congratulations to the Director General, to the Executive Director, your Executive Director here. Thank you, ED Cheptu. And thank you for coming out to see this. And it's great for the people of Kenya, and I'm proud of Kenya. So I think the Madaraka Day for me is going to be a fun one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As you can see,
a section of national leaders are in Moranga in Sagana area, this as they foster on development concerns in the region. Ruth Wamboi will be bringing us a detailed news item in the subsequent bulletins at 7 and 9 p.m. In other news, Tana River Governor Dado Godana has called on residents to maintain peace before, during and after the elections. Godana, who was addressing residents of Madogo in Tana North, further urged politicians in the county to carry out peaceful campaigns and avoid inflammatory remarks.
Tana River Governor Dado Godana has urged the political class to practice politics devoid of hate. The governor, who is seeking a second term in office under an ODM ticket, said politicians must take the lead role in preaching peace as they campaign. He further urged residents to be wary of inciters, stating that such people who thrive on dividing the electorate and causing bloodshed should not be entrusted with leadership.
Tunataka kuungana kama wana Tana. Na pia sisi tunataka Tana River hii iwe na amani. Semeni amani. Semeni amani. Ndio ili sababu ya tatu Tana River hii iweze kuendelea.
In the neighboring Lamu County, the contest for Lamu East parliamentary seat has intensified with 3 candidates cleared so far.
Sisi wabunge tukichaguliwa ni mato kwenda kusema kule kwamba hii inamdhuru mtu wangu, acha mimi nirekebishe.
In Kiambu County, a section of politicians have called on residents to observe COVID guidelines during the campaign period and not be coerced into electing leaders into office.
Najua saa zile wanarushiwa mahindi ndio wapeane kura zao. Na kusema ati bei zitateremka ndio wananchi waweze kuchagua mlengo fulani, hiyo imepitwa na wakati. Wananchi saa hizi washaamua, wanajua ni nani watapatia kazi, wanajua yule kiongozi wanaweza fikia, huyo ndio ule kiongozi watapatia kazi. Hawa wananchi siku hizi hawaangalii mambo ya chama, wanaangalia ule mtu binafsi atawafanyia kazi.
This as Mwengi West Member of Parliament Charles Nguna cautioned fellow aspirants to ensure they conduct peaceful campaigns.
There are people who are destroying other people's campaign material, and it is an electoral violation of law. And I want to state categorically, whoever I am going to get actually destroying any billboard, even if it's not for CNN, I will have to take him or out of the appropriate place. My opponent, and I am not hiding, Honorable Koki Musau, tame your tongues.
For Lunchtime News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
A section of leaders in Kerio Valley wants the government to bring to a permanent end the devastating spate of violence in the region. The leaders say the killings being witnessed in the areas such as Marakwet East are leaving permanent damages to peace efforts by entrenching mistrust between communities living in the area.
Pokot South MP David Kosin has taken issue with what he terms as systematic incitement by some leaders in the region. The lawmaker says the region has been denied the right to peace and tranquility.
And Pokot to ignore those incitements from some few leaders, cheap leaders, who cannot even go and look for projects for their own people. They just go and look for stomachs and kelele all over the place. So that is my appeal. And that is very critical as we go to election, because most leaders now look for bongo points. I hope that bongo points will not be to sacrifice somebody's life.
Kosin said border conflicts between Elgeyo Marakwet and West Pokot have derailed development in the region.
I'll be very peaceful. I also want to ask my colleagues who are campaigning to campaign peacefully, and they should feel peaceful in Pokot South.
His sentiments were echoed by a section of leaders in Elgeyo Marakwet.
Kerio Valley is bleeding. The nation is bleeding. There is no part of the country that should suffer on their own. When Kerio Valley is in pain, the whole nation should feel the pain of the people of Kerio Valley.
Nataka niwasihi watu wangu wa Marakwet East. Ijapo tunapitia machungu, tusiende tukalipishe kisasi. Tusiende tukalipishe kisasi. Tutaendelea kuuliza na kuomba serikali. Na ni serikali ambayo sisi wenyewe kama watu wa Marakwet East tunalipa kodi na tulipigia kura. Tutaendelea kuwauliza wako na jukumu ya kutulinda sisi na mali yetu.
Scores of people were recently murdered in Tot, Elgeyo Marakwet, sparkling condemnation and accusations that the government is not doing enough to guarantee safety to locals.
Watoto wajakanyaka shule, walimu pia hata wamehofia maisha yao. So na tungeomba serikali tu wajue maneno ya Kilifi watatatua namna gani, kwa sababu imekuwa ni kitu inakuwa ni recurring.
The remarks come in amid reports that some 5,000 police officers have been deployed in the region to beef up security.
I want to confirm and assure them that we have put in place proper arrangements for security during campaign and even during voting. We have enough officers who graduated just the other day. We have 5,000 who came out the other day. We have another 5,000 who are in training. And we have, of course, the ones who are in service, who are already enhanced in terms of training so that they are able to take care of security during this campaign period.
Kerio Valley has seen some of the bloodiest conflicts in recent years, with the latest attacks targeting children. Some 50 schools remain closed in parts of Elgeyo Marakwet due to fears of further attacks. Frederick Mwoki for Lunchtime News.
And the National Cohesion and Integration Commission has just concluded a press briefing. My colleague Zainab Said has been with the team here at a Nairobi hotel. She says the cohesion has been able to mention areas that are likely to experience violence during the forthcoming general election. And she says she'll be joining us live later on in this bulletin. But before we go to that, let's get to other news from the county of Makueni. 5 former members of Makueni County Assembly, 1 sitting MCA and former county clerk were arrested Monday by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, who were later arraigned in court. The 7 are accused of deceitfully claiming and receiving 175,018 shillings and 50 cents each as full per diem for a trip of 6 days to Dubai, which had been privately sponsored by the then Member of Parliament Patrick Musimba. Magistrate James Mwaniki ruled that each of the accused should pay a cash bail of 150,000 shillings or a bond of 300,000 shillings. The hearing will be held on the 27th of June 2022.
Of 150,000, the prosecution to supply the defense with the copies of the charge sheet, the witness statements, and any documentary evidence the prosecution may wish to rely on.
First Lady Margaret Kenyatta has held talks with visiting Sierra Leone counterpart Fatima Mada. The First Ladies discussed the various campaigns they are involved in, touching on the promotion of the well-being and welfare of women, children, and vulnerable groups. First Lady Margaret Kenyatta highlighted how her Beyond Zero campaign has been at the forefront in advocating for the welfare of women and children in Kenya. Fatima Mada, on her part, leads a campaign against gender-based violence in Sierra Leone dubbed Hands Off Our Girls, which seeks to create awareness, influence policy, and support women and girls to access reproductive health care and treatment for diseases such as fistula and cancer, as well as eliminate early childhood marriages, gender-based violence, and rape. Now she's ready. Earlier on, she had a press briefing with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. The commission has highlighted areas that are likely to experience violence before, during, and after the general election. Zainab, good afternoon. What more do you have for us?
Good afternoon, Muchuma. As you mentioned, the Commission today has released a report that they has been conducting for the past 4 months. They released a report they have been conducting since January to April, and in the report they have indicated that 41 counties are likely to experience no violence or few cases of violence. But in the same report that was conducted between January and April has also indicated that 6 counties, among them Nairobi and Kisumu, Uasin Gishu, are likely to experience post-election violence, with Nairobi leading at 80% and Embu County being the least county that is expected to experience cases of violence at 30%. The Commission also indicating that cases of inequalities, cases of previous cases of violence are some of the factors that they have identified that could lead to those areas experiencing violence. But also in the launch of the report today, the Chair also promising that also indicating that even after they had conducted the report and shared it with the relevant institutions, there have been positive remarks and also positive growth from the areas that had been marked to have possibility of violences ahead of the general elections. They say that in those areas things have changed. They are no longer seeing that, but they also mentioned that gangs and also as I had mentioned, inequalities and low standards of living are some of the factors that might lead to those areas experiencing violences. But also in this launch of the report today here, where different stakeholders were invited, the DCI, the National Police, IPOA, EACC, all the stakeholders here saying they are going to ensure that the election will be free and fair, and that all Kenyans will be allowed to vote. All areas in the country will not experience violence, even as the slogan for today was Uchaguzi Bila Noma. The stakeholders here have promised that the elections in the August will be free and fair. So that was the report that was launched today, the NCIC just mentioning or mapping some areas that are expected to experience violence, 6 counties, Nairobi being the one leading at 80%, but also indicating that even as they had conducted the research during April, from January and April, but the chair also mentioning that things have changed. They've seen progress of peace in those areas, but also the saying that they have been engaging politicians from different areas they had mapped to maybe to experience cases of violence. They have engaged them. They have agreed unanimously to speak, to spread message of peace, just to ensure that even as the country heads to the general elections, approximately 69 days from now, the country is peaceful and all Kenyans across all the country are allowed to vote peacefully. That's much I can say from here. It's a story that will be following up, and we'll sure to inform our viewers in our later bulletin. Back to you, Muchuma.
Thank you, Zainab. Good to have you. The NCIC reports coming 70 days to the next general election. Continue interacting with us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. The Lunchtime News is taking a short break. We'll be back with more news, including business and sports. Stay with us.
Reggae nice and it make ya. Nobody watching us can know we're no safer. Mama, don't you cry.
have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
Thank you for staying with us. Welcome back. You're watching the Lunchtime News. European Union Ambassador to Kenya, Henriette Geiger, has underscored the need for a policy framework, funding and empowerment of communities in the fight against terrorism and extremism. Henriette reiterated EU's support on Kenya's effort in the fight against terrorism, citing the Counter-terrorism Center in Kenya that has helped in a big way in prosecuting cases of extremism.
Speaking during the high-level conference on counter-terrorism and prevention of violent extremism in Mombasa, Henriette said that the EU has endeavored to bring political and social stability in the Horn of Africa, which is going a long way in the prevention of violent extremism.
We feel that all in all, we are working in the right direction, both in Kenya, at the regional and the international level. And the EU is very proud that we can support the efforts here in Kenya with a program.
She commended the collaboration in the fight against violent extremism, noting that the EU will be coming up with a program next year to boost the ongoing efforts.
And we are just looking at a new program that will start probably next year. And this conference and other activities help us to evaluate whether actually we did the right thing, what impact we had, and how we can get even better.
The director of the National Counter-terrorism Center, Roslyn Nyawira, said that they have taken the societal approach in this fight, which is bearing fruit. Sentiments echoed by Kilifi County Commissioner Kutso Olaka, who reiterated that they have strengthened the command centers in the coast region as a measure to combat the vice and share information with the relevant authorities.
You know, the terrorists live in the same world that we live in, and they take advantage of the same infrastructure that we are supposed to take advantage of. And so it is a matter of you have to think like them and then go ahead of them to be able to counter them.
When we get any information, any intel about activities related to terrorism, we normally act fast, and that's why we have had very few incidents related to terrorism in the last few years.
Nakuru Governor Lee Kinyanjui has revoked the issuance of 80 new licenses to fishermen in Lake Naivasha following an outcry over the manner the process was conducted. The governor noted the exercise will be reviewed in a week's time after it emerged that the targeted group of poachers, youths and the disabled were locked out of the licensing exercise. Kinyanjui assured his administration will see to it that the intended beneficiaries get the licenses for their operations in the lake.
Nakuru County government had last year promised to increase the fishing licenses by an extra 80 boats to empower the youth and address illegal fishing activities. The licensing process has however been marred by irregularities, according to Governor Lee Kinyanjui, who revoked the permits until the matter is resolved.
Na sisi kama wavuvi wa hapa hatutakubali boti zinakuja kwa jina zetu na mabwenyenye na wale matajiri ndio wanapata.
Ulkari member of County Assembly Peter Palanga lauded the move, adding that irregularities ought to be addressed so that the targeted beneficiaries receive the much-needed licenses for their operations.
Kuliko kusema huyu asipewe, my take will be, why don't we have some more licenses to factor hawa vijana ambao ni wengi.
Governor Kinyanjui, who spoke at Oloiden Irene Naivasha, said the matter is expected to be resolved in a week's time.
Tutarekebisha hizo shida za uvuvi ambazo ziko hapa. Okay?
Isfar reporting for Lunchtime News.
A Kilifi farm has manufactured a respiratory device that supports newborns and infants with breathing problems without without using electricity. The Vayu Bubble Continuous Positive Airway Pressure System, manufactured by Revital Healthcare Limited, provides blended oxygen and has been hailed as a game changer in the neonatal care.
A Kilifi farm has once again put Kenya on the global map, becoming the world's first manufacturer of a respiratory device that supports newborns and infants with breathing problems. The Vayu Bubble Continuous Positive Airway Pressure System, manufactured by Revital Healthcare Limited in Kilifi County, provides blended oxygen to the infants without the use of electricity.
We're able to overcome this great challenge related to oxygen access and respiratory support, and most importantly, provide hope to the families out there that yes, your baby is going to survive.
The device is portable, has components that are reusable after sterilization, and can be used at any hospital in any part of the country.
This device was actually used to save a baby in a tuk-tuk. And the baby was transported from a level 1 clinic to a level 5 clinic over 200 kilometers away, but in a tuk-tuk. And this was possible because this device, you can move it around that way.
And I would also like to recommend that ambulances, especially from lower level facilities, be equipped with these machines, especially when it comes to transporting preterm units.
Revital Healthcare Vayu Project Officer Krupali Shah said the device will benefit newborn babies with underdeveloped lungs or acute respiratory illnesses.
Our newborn units that admit babies who are born with very low scores, they admit over 1,000 cases annually. And unfortunately, sometimes we lose up to 40% of those babies.
I believe that there's a huge opportunity to increase the number of these machines, especially using locally made, cost-effective technology to improve the outcomes of newborns who are admitted so that they can have a chance to survive.
Already, the farm has shipped 120 units to Ukraine as a donation. Nancy Okware, Lunchtime News.
Well, time for us to get to the business news. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers has raised the red flag over the shortage of US dollars in the Kenyan market. The association has warned of the emergence of black markets triggered by the ongoing dollar shortage in the country. KAM is urging the Central Bank of Kenya to implement policies towards dollar provisions to facilitate the importation of raw materials.
In the last 12 months, the country has been grappling with a US dollar shortage driven by a weakening shilling, a surge in global commodity prices, and the conflict in Europe pitting the Union and Russia. The Kenya manufacturing sector is highly dependent on the US dollar for importation and processing of their output. However, the current dollar shortage has pushed local manufacturers to buy foreign currency in advance, hiking up their working capital. Furthermore, the weakening of the shilling and inflation have pushed manufacturing prices even higher, putting a strain on local producers. KAM Chairman Muchuma notes the deficit in the foreign exchange market is straining relations between Kenyan manufacturers and their foreign suppliers, a factor that may ultimately cause irreversible damage to Kenyan manufacturers in the global market. The association says, despite the market exchange rate for the dollar hovering between 115 shillings and 116 shillings per dollar, the market is battling major shortages, pushing manufacturers to buy the dollar from alternative sources at 120 shillings. KAM says the dollar scarcity has created a parallel shadow market with unwanted consequences. The shortage, compounded with the current global challenges and high commodity market, says KAM, plays out a bleak future for manufacturers and the Kenyan market at large. Hibak Said for Lunchtime News.
Password stealing malware cases among small and medium-sized businesses increased 16% to 12,639 during the first 4 months of this year. A cybersecurity report by cybersecurity service provider Casper Skylab attributes the increase in malware cases to shift towards remote working among SMEs despite a decrease in actual attacks through online desktop protocols.
The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics indicates that in 2020, companies recorded the highest number of new website applications at 35,611, followed by government entities at 243, institutions of higher learning at 236, not-for-profit organizations at 70, blogs at 12, and lower and middle institutions of learning with only 5. The statistics show that among these companies, most were SMEs adopting an online presence to improve workflow and streamline operations, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. In Kenya, small business owners rarely invest in internet security due to cost implications, but add that the disregard for IT security is being exploited by cyber criminals. The 2022 Kaspersky report identified the Trojan PSW, a password-stealing ware, as the most common attacker. Trojan PSW is a malware that steals passwords along with other account information, which then allows attackers to gain access to the corporate network and steal sensitive information. Researchers assessed the dynamics of attacks on small and medium-sized businesses between January and April 2022 and at the same period in 2021 to identify which threats pose an increasing danger to entrepreneurs. Cybersecurity experts now recommend that to protect your business, entrepreneurs should provide staff with basic cybersecurity hygiene training, use a protection solution for endpoints and small servers with an anti-phishing capability, safeguard corporate data and devices, and keep work devices physically safe while keeping them locked with strong passwords and encryption software. Alan Auko, Lunchtime News.
The Electronic Regulatory Authority in Uganda plans to increase the number of qualified electricians in the country through the first issuance of an installation permit. The authority says the shortage of qualified electricians is posing a major challenge to the country's energy sector. The move is further aimed at reducing the power lost to illegal connections and power theft. Here now are the details of the story and much more.
Uganda's Electricity Regulatory Authority is lining up a number of academic and electricity user institutions to partner with to instill the culture of efficient use of energy to reduce power losses. The regulatory body wants to increase the number of certified electricians with hopes to accelerate access to electricity and reduce power loss to illegal connections and power theft. ERA has also partnered with Uganda's Business Technical Education Board for students to participate in training and assessment to give them the required experience. ERA has signed another memorandum of understanding with the Uganda National Chamber of Commerce and Industry to ensure that manufacturers adhere to the requisite production standards, among which include efficient use of energy, especially electricity. Meanwhile, South Africa's ad hoc Joint Committee on Flood Disaster Relief and Recovery says KwaZulu-Natal's post-flood infrastructural rebuild will cost more than $1.6 billion. For the second time in 2 months, the KwaZulu-Natal province was hit by destructive floods that destroyed roads, bridges, buildings and other infrastructure. The first occurrence came in April as the country was pounded by heavy rains. More than 440 people were killed in KwaZulu-Natal and infrastructure was destroyed after resultant floods gashed the province. Finally, the European Union will spend €5 million on providing life-saving food assistance to 1.6 million people in Burkina Faso. The funds will assist people who are unable to meet their basic food needs due to the conflict, the impact of climate change, and socio-economic fallout caused by COVID-19. The agency noted that the contribution allows critical assistance to the affected people in the country beleaguered by a conflict that forced many people to flee their homes. The World Food Programme noted that 2.4 million people are currently in need of a form of assistance in Burkina Faso.
Germany's annual inflation rates climbed to a new record of 7.9% in May, up from 7.4% in April. Consumer prices increased to 8.7% from 7.8% a month earlier. Data from Federal Statistics Office showed inflation was last time this high in the winter of 1973-1974, when the first oil crisis led to a new and difficult-to-tame inflationary cycle. More details next in our international business news.
According to the office, energy prices rose by 38.3% in May compared to the same month last year, while food prices also rose at an above average rate of 11.1%. The report comes just 10 days before a crucial ECB meeting where officials are set to announce the conclusion of large-scale asset purchase and confirm plans to raise interest rate in July for the first time in more than a decade. German bonds held declines with benchmark 10-year yields 8 basis points higher at 1.05%. The inflation figures increased pressure on the government as households are further squeezed. Finance Minister Christian Lindner earlier Monday called the fight against surging prices while advocating an end to expansive fiscal policy. Elsewhere, China's factory activity fell at a slower pace in May as COVID-19 curbs in major manufacturing hubs eased, but movement controls continue to weigh on demand and production, raising concerns about economic growth in the second quarter. The official manufacturing purchasing managers index rose to 49.6 in May from 47.4 in April. While the PMI hit a 3-month high, it remained below the 50-point mark that separates contraction from growth for the third straight month. The sub-index for production rose to 49.7 in May from 44.4 in April, where the new order sub-index rose to 48.2 from 46.6. Many analysts expect the economy to shrink in April-June quarter for a year earlier, compared with the first quarter 4.8% growth. Meanwhile, oil prices rose on Tuesday after the European Union agreed to slash oil imports from Russia by the end of 2022. This has fueled fears of a tighter market already strained for supply amid rising demand ahead of the US peak and European summer driving season. Brent crude futures for July, which expires on Tuesday, going 33C to $122 a barrel. The more active August contract rose 33 to $117.93. US West Texas Intermediate crude futures were trading at $117.31 a barrel, up to $2.24 from Friday's close. There was no settlement on Monday due to a US public holiday. Terry Njenga, Lunchtime News.
Thank you for staying with us. Time for Channel 1 Business News. With a scintillating racing career spanning over 4 decades, 66-year-old Italian navigator Fabrizio Pons is ready for the Safari Rally adventure one more time. The navigator debuted the WRC Safari in 1983 when she guided French legend Michel Morton to 3rd overall position in an Audi Quattro A1.
Pons will be back for her 4th WRC Safari Rally and is among the 34 co-drivers listed for the WRC event slated for June 23rd to 26th in Naivasha. The veteran Italian will co-drive Kilifi-based KNRC driver Piero Honobio, who is entered for WRC2 in Hyundai NGI20 Rally 2 car. Kenyan WRC2 drivers on the entry list include National Rally Series leader Karan Patel, Akif Virani and Rasid Sain Barij. Foreigners form the bulk of the 10-car WRC2 field headed by Czech Republic ace Martin Prohop, who crashed out of the 2021 event.
The Kenya Commercial Bank women's volleyball team will take on powerhouse Al Ahly tonight in the final of the ongoing Africa Volleyball Club Championship in Kilifi, Tunisia. Wydad SC claimed their third CAF Championship League title after securing a 2-0 victory over holders Al Ahly in front of a home crowd at Stade Mohamed V in Casablanca. The Morocco outfit, who entered the match as the less fancied of the two sides, were lifted to victory by a brace from winger Zohira El Moutaraji.
Al Ahly, who are seeking to defend their crown after victory in the same stadium last July against Kaizer Chiefs, were chasing a record extending 11th title in the competition, but they were unable to find a response to Wydad's opener on the quarter-hour mark.
Fatih loses out in the middle. This is an opportunity. Another long-range shot. What a goal! What a super goal!
Has struggled to find a goal of their own despite enjoying the lion's share of possession. El Mutraji's second, shortly after the half-time interval, effectively took the game away from Al Ahly.
Cutting inside the goal scorer. This might be a late run in here. Saved by El Shenawi. Goal!
And a late red card for defender Rami Rabia sealed defeat on the road. Though Wydad would typically qualify for the FIFA Club World Cup with victory, they will be forced to wait to discover if and when they will compete, with the tournament currently undated and in logistical limbo.
League won in 2022 by Wydad Casablanca. The Moroccans are the kings of Africa.
Before we come to the wrap up the lunchtime news, let's get back to the business news. The property market is struggling lately as supply chain woes, a weak shilling, have created sky-high prices for construction and building materials. Property developers say they have been forced to revise their budget and at times absorb the costs themselves.
Market trends has shown that some steel products have increased by up to 40% since late 2021. This, coupled up by the Russo-Ukrainian conflict, have worsened the situation, with the prices of steel in the international market seen increasing by as much as 40% since December late last year. Property developers now say they have been forced to revise their budgets, take in some of the costs, and stock up the required materials in order to help cushion their customers.
We saw almost a 40 to 60% price increase almost overnight in rebar. The same sort of price increase with cement, and in fact it went even further with cement. We actually had a shortage of cement at one point where we just couldn't find any cement in the market.
The weakening of the shilling has further diluted the positive trends the construction industry was making. Additionally, the price of global oil has significantly increased, further pushing the freight costs higher, leading to undue shortages by suppliers.
We are looking at freight costs. The prices of global oil prices has been on an uptrend, and that has percolated even into the freight costs that the cement and steel companies are getting. Issues around dollar shortages. Some of these companies are not able even to meet the suppliers in hard currency terms.
Industry insiders are worried that the current rising cost of building materials can undo all progress that the construction sector has registered in recent years. Ndutamo Kami for Lunchtime News.
We have come to the end of Channel 1 Lunchtime News. Thank you so much for your company. Also on our social media platforms, on behalf of the entire team, thank you for keeping it KBC Channel 1. Quick acknowledgements. Kipyegon Isaiah, you're watching KBC Channel 1 from Bomet East. Linus Kemboy, you're watching KBC Channel 1 from the county of Nairobi. You're saying good job. And John Juguna, you're watching KBC Channel 1 from Upper Hill. The list could go on and on. Time is not on our side. Thank you for everything. My name is Irene Muchuma Odim. On sign language interpretation, we have Lensa Odingo. Good afternoon.
As campaign intensifies for the upcoming general election, what does all this mean for you, the voter? What do the candidates have to offer? How prepared are agencies charged with the election process? Join John Kuria and Safina Chieng on Kenya Decides. This and every Tuesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 as we unpack elections 2022 with a panel of various stakeholders. Make informed electoral decisions.
Na kama hiyo ni